Don't leave yet. Listening A2. Episode 1. The rain started suddenly, and Grace was already late. She ran into the old city library, her heart beating fast. Her phone was dead, her coat was wet, and she felt lost. This day was not going as planned at all. Inside the library, it was warm and quiet. Grace took a deep breath. Then she heard a voice. "Are you okay?" She turned and saw a man holding a small flashlight. He had calm eyes and a gentle smile. "I think so," Grace said. "I just needed a place to hide from the rain." "My name is Daniel," he said. "I work here." Grace smiled. "I'm Grace." At that moment, the lights went out. The whole library became dark. "Oh no," Grace whispered. Daniel turned on his flashlight. "Don't worry, it happens sometimes." They walked between tall shelves full of old books. The rain hit the windows hard. Grace felt strange but safe. Then Daniel stopped walking. "There is something you should know," he said quietly. Grace looked at him. "What is it?" Daniel took a breath. The light moved on his face. "This library is going to close forever, and tonight is the last night." Grace felt her heart drop. "And that's not the only secret," Daniel added. Episode 2. The thunder shook the windows, and Grace felt a chill. "What do you mean, another secret?" she asked. Daniel looked at the floor for a moment. "This library is special to me. My father built it." Grace's eyes widened. "Built it?" "Yes," Daniel said. "He believed books could change lives. This place was his dream." They sat at a small wooden table. The flashlight lay between them. The rain did not stop. "I came here today because I had to," Grace said suddenly. "Tomorrow I leave this city." Daniel looked up fast. "Forever?" "I don't know," she answered. "I lost my job. I feel like I lost myself too." Silence filled the space between them. It felt heavy, but also honest. Daniel spoke softly. "Sometimes losing something is how we find something new." Grace felt tears in her eyes. She did not know why she trusted him so quickly. Suddenly, an old door opened by itself with a loud sound. Grace stood up. "Was that the wind?" Daniel's face changed. "No, that door is always locked." From the dark room behind the door, a soft light appeared. Daniel whispered, "I've never seen that before." Grace took a step closer, and without knowing why, she reached for Daniel's hand. Episode 3. The light grew brighter and the air felt warm. Grace stepped into the hidden room first, her heart beating fast. The rain outside was gone. Everything was silent. The room was small but beautiful. Old photos covered the walls. In the center, there was a wooden box. Daniel whispered, "This room was my father's favorite place." Grace looked at the photos. She saw a younger Daniel, standing next to an older man with kind eyes. "He loved this library," Grace said softly. Daniel nodded. He said this room was for moments that change lives. Grace slowly opened the wooden box. Inside, there was a letter. "It's your name," she said, surprised. "Daniel." His hands shook as he took the letter. "My dear son," Daniel read, "if you are here, you are not alone." Grace felt her chest tighten. "I built this place for people who are lost," Daniel continued. "And one day, you will meet someone who needs it most." Daniel stopped reading. He looked at Grace. "I think that someone is you," he said quietly. Grace wanted to speak, but suddenly the lights in the library came back on. A loud voice echoed, "Everyone must leave the building now." Grace's phone turned on. She saw one new message. It said, "Do not leave yet." Episode 4. The message made Grace freeze. Her phone vibrated again. "Grace," Daniel said, worried. "We need to go." "I know," she replied, "but this message—" She showed him the screen. Daniel's face went pale. "That's impossible." "Why?" Grace asked. "That number belonged to my father." Before Grace could answer, the voice came again, louder this time. "Last warning, leave now." People started walking fast toward the exit. The library felt different, like it was watching them. Daniel grabbed the wooden box. "Come with me." They ran through the hall. The doors were almost closed. Just before they reached the exit, the ground shook slightly. A book fell and opened at Grace's feet. She looked down. Inside, a sentence was underlined in red. "Some hearts meet only once. Do not run." Grace looked at Daniel. Her eyes were full of fear and hope. "I leave tomorrow," she whispered. Daniel stepped closer. "Then stay tonight." The doors behind them closed with a loud sound. Grace's heart pounded. Outside, the city lights disappeared, and the library became completely silent. Episode 5. The silence was heavy, and Grace felt her breath slow down. The library doors were closed, but fear slowly turned into calm. Daniel lit a small lamp. Warm light filled the room. "We are safe," he said. "This building protects what matters." Grace looked around. The shelves seemed alive, full of stories and time. "I don't understand why this is happening," she said. Daniel sat across from her. "My father believed that places have souls." Grace smiled weakly. "And people? Especially people," Daniel answered. They talked for hours, about dreams, about fear, about starting again. Grace told him about her job, her plans, and her broken confidence. Daniel listened without interrupting. Then he stood up and walked to the window. "If you leave tomorrow," he said, "this place will disappear." Grace's heart jumped. "Disappear?" "Yes," he said quietly. "The library closes forever at sunrise." Grace felt tears in her eyes. "I don't want to lose this night," she whispered. Daniel turned to her. "Then don't." At that moment, the lamp flickered. A new note fell from the ceiling. Grace picked it up. It said, "The choice must be made before dawn." Episode 6. The sky outside slowly changed color. Morning was coming closer. Grace sat on the floor holding the note. Her hands were cold. "I'm afraid," she said. "What if I stay and fail again?" Daniel sat beside her. "What if you leave and always wonder?" Grace closed her eyes. The words touched her heart. They walked through the library one last time. Every step felt important. At the main desk, Grace noticed an old book with no title. It suddenly opened. Inside was a blank page. Daniel whispered, "It waits for you." Grace picked up a pen lying nearby. Her hand shook. "What should I write?" she asked. Daniel smiled gently. "The truth." Grace took a deep breath. She began to write her name. The moment the pen touched the paper, the room filled with light. The walls trembled softly. The book closed by itself. Outside, the sun began to rise. Grace looked at Daniel, her eyes shining. "I think I know what I want," she said. Daniel held her hand. But before she could finish her sentence, the library clock struck loudly. 1, 2, 3, and the building started to fade. Episode 7. The walls became transparent, and the shelves slowly disappeared. Grace felt fear rise in her chest, but Daniel did not let go of her hand. "Look at me," he said firmly. Grace looked into his eyes. Everything else felt unreal. "I choose to stay," she said clearly. The light around them stopped shaking. The library froze. Then slowly the walls came back. The shelves returned. The clock became silent. Grace gasped. It worked. Daniel smiled, but his eyes were wet. "You saved it." "No," Grace said softly. "We saved each other." The door opened gently. Morning light filled the hall. Outside, the city was there again. Normal, alive. Grace laughed quietly, full of relief. "I don't have to leave today," she said. Daniel nodded. "And I don't have to be alone anymore." They walked outside together. But before they reached the street, Grace stopped. "What if this was just one night?" she asked. Daniel reached into his pocket and gave her the letter. On the back, new words appeared. "Some stories do not end. They begin." Grace's heart beat fast. She looked up. Daniel was watching her, differently now. Episode 8. The air outside felt fresh and new. Grace took a deep breath and smiled. Days passed, then weeks. Grace found a small job near the library. She started writing again. Every morning, she met Daniel for coffee inside the building. The library stayed open. People came, more people than before. One evening, Grace found Daniel waiting with nervous eyes. "There is something I want to ask you," he said. Grace felt her heart race. He took her hand. "That night changed my life. It changed mine too," she whispered. Daniel smiled. "I don't want this to be just a story. Grace laughed softly. Neither do I. He opened a small notebook. Inside, on the first page, was her name. Grace looked at him surprised. This time, Daniel said, "I'm not afraid." Grace felt tears in her eyes. She was about to answer, when suddenly the library lights went out again. Grace froze. Daniel whispered, "That has never happened since that night." From the darkness, a familiar warm light began to glow, and a voice they both knew said softly, "Are you ready for the last page?" Episode 9, Final. The warm light filled the library, soft and calm. Grace felt no fear this time, only peace. "Yes," she said gently, "we are ready." The light slowly moved to the old desk. A book appeared there. The same book with blank pages. Daniel opened it. The pages were no longer empty. They showed moments. Grace running into the library, Daniel holding the flashlight, their hands touching in the dark. Grace gasped, "It's our story." Daniel smiled. "It always was." The voice spoke again, kind and quiet. "Some places wait for the right hearts." The light slowly faded. The library lights turned on. Everything was normal, but something inside Grace felt new and strong. Months passed. Grace did not leave the city. She opened a small writing corner inside the library. Children listened to her stories. Adults smiled again. Daniel stayed by her side. One evening, as the sun set, Daniel stopped in front of her. "Grace," he said, his voice warm, "you stayed when you were afraid." He took her hands. "I don't want to lose you, ever." Grace's eyes filled with tears, happy ones. "I'm not lost anymore," she said. "I found my place." Daniel smiled. "And I found my home." Outside, the library sign shone brighter than ever. Inside, a new book closed quietly. Its title appeared at last. Grace and Daniel, a story that chose love. The end and the beginning. For more interesting stories, welcome to the English Listening Stories channel. We will be happy for subscription.